Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. But first of all, got to give a big shout out to David Crone, David Hatch, and Alex Inkster, supporters of ours over at patreon.com/PCP. Y'all really help make this channel possible, help keep us going, providing a positive place to talk about comic books, movies, television, pop culture, all that jazz, and a whole lot more. So thank you all so much on behalf of everybody here at PCP. So let's get right into it with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Second Coming, #1 from Ahoy Comics. So this book was first announced as a Vertigo title, and then there was a lot of controversy surrounding this book because of the subject matter. The basic premise of this book is that God is kind of almost embarrassed at Jesus, the Son of God, right? And so he sends him to Earth to learn from a Superman type character how to be a better son, a better God, a better Messiah, if you will, right? So because of the content, lots of controversy, Vertigo decided to postpone it, then ultimately they canceled it, but it has found a home over at Ahoy Comics. It is written by Mark Russell, with artwork by Richard Pace. It has two inkers on it. It's got Leonard Kirk and Andy Troy, both doing two different styles of inking, which helps separate the story framing from what takes place in heaven and what takes place on earth. But all that aside, this book is one of those examples of do not judge a book by its cover. I absolutely loved this book. I thought it was great. Of course, it's a piece of satire. So it's a work of satire, just a little bit, right? So it says a lot about, you know, modern day society and religion and stuff like that, especially in America, right? But what this book is really saying is, what is the message of Christ? What was the historical or non-historical Jesus Christ? What was he representing, and what would he think about today's society and stuff like that? I really think that writer Mark Russell kind of gets deep into it here, and what could have just easily been some kind of fun little silly romp, sacrilegious, blasphemous, all that kind of stuff, just kind of throwing it out there, being edgy and all that kind of stuff. That is not what this is. This book's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of heart to it, absolutely. There are some portrayals that maybe are a little too much for certain people. However, I really like this book. I thought it had a lot of meat behind the story. I love the artwork by Richard Pace and the two inkers. I liked how the finishes added a different layer to the story. I like it. I really thought it was very solid. With the controversy now moving over to a smaller publisher, I see this book just kind of, you know, being out there right now. But I'm telling you guys, Second Coming was really, really cool. Really, really cool. I really liked it. And for a book that could have easily just been something edgy and frivolous and ultimately non-essential, this book says a lot. And it says a lot in a very delicate, nuanced way at times. And also, it's pretty funny. Second Coming #1 out this week from Ahoy Comics. Let's move over to DC. It's Bendis week over at DC, so let's talk about it. Event Leviathan #2 is here, the second issue of a 6-issue mystery thriller. It says, it's a big mystery. Who is Leviathan? All the spy organizations in the DCU have been taken out. Thousands of people have disappeared or have been killed. Batman's on the case with a team of detectives, Lois Lane, Manhunter, Green Arrow, The Question, Plastic Man. Who is Leviathan? What's going on with it? And no new revelations happen in this issue. Just a lot of backstory again, a lot of great dialogue, and a lot of beautiful, elegant artwork by Alex Maleev. Bendis and Maleev work so well together. I would love to see them on a Question book, on a Batman book, on any of these kind of street-level characters. It would work really well. The pacing, the flow, everything works. It just does not move the story forward very much at all, if anything, right? It kind of deals with one little tiny thin piece of plot, and I don't know. Artwork, beautiful. The dialogue is great. The scene, it's basically a conversation between Jason Todd and Bruce Wayne. And it's kind of very well written as far as the dialogue goes, as far as the character interaction goes. However, it just doesn't move the story forward, man. This Event Leviathan is supposed to be big, and it is big. If you tell someone what the story is, you're like, well, that's big, but it doesn't feel big. I don't know. And this book's just kind of inching along a little bit, but the artwork is gorgeous. Batman Universe #1 is here, which is reprinting the Brian Michael Bendis, Nick Darrington, Dave Stewart Batman story that ran in those Walmart exclusive DC 100-page giants. If you missed out on those, you can read the story now. This contains the first 2 chapters, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. Brian Michael Bendis does a great job writing Batman. I do not have a problem with any time that he's written Batman. He kind of does it with a little bit of seriousness, but with a little bit of of not taking it too seriously at the same time. I really like this one. Nick Darrington, recently off of Doom Patrol. This is really fun stuff. It's cool to see his style in a book like Batman. It's a Riddler story. It's cool. I like the setup. I like the composition. I like the flow. I like the layout. I really like it. As mad as I was trying to collect up all those Walmart 100-page specials, I never actually sat down and read the Bendis story and the King story and all that stuff. So this one's awesome. I actually like this better than the Tom King Superman one, at least the first 2 chapters in. But I thought that was pretty solid. I think Bendis had a great handle on it. But then Darrington and Dave Stewart on the colors, artwork was fire on that book. Naomi number 6 is here. This is the final book of Naomi Season 1, of Volume 1 of Naomi. It will be coming back. Naomi 2 is coming, probably next year. A great finale. This book has been amazing. It's been the best superhero work that Bendis has done. It's also because he's aided by David F. Walker, a great writer in and of his own right. But then you got Jamal Campbell and that artwork and those colors and their pop and those layouts. It's dazzling. It's great. It's got great perspective, great angles, and just great movement through the page. The emotion of the characters and the motion of the characters, everything, the energy is so there. It's awesome. I really like it. It was a great finale. Who is Naomi? That's been what this whole series has been about so far. And now it's hit a point where we know who she is, and now we kind of get a little bit about where she's going to go. And I cannot be more excited for the future of Naomi in the DC Universe. Bendis, Walker, Campbell, and the rest, they have done a fantastic job introducing a new character that's instantaneously likable, relatable, and dynamic, and fun, and engaging. And what started off as a mystery got revealed very quickly. And this is something that some of the other Bendis books, like Event Leviathan, some of the Superman stuff, something's, this is tighter, this is cleaner, this is more concise, this is more in your face, this is just more extravagant and more boisterous and just so much more fun. Naomi number 6. I loved it. That was a great final issue to the first arc. Superman number 13 is here with a continuing story of what happened in Krypton, Rogol Zar. I've been so falling out of this book. I think Bendis, he's doing something where he's just, I want to sit down, I want to do a big, massive reread to see if it kind of flows a little bit better. Sometimes Bendis' superhero work, especially like his Avengers work over at Marvel, it works so much better for me reading in big chunks, right? Where you get the whole scope of the story. Because sometimes the scope of Bendis' stories can get lost because it feels like each issue is just a tedious example of the most minute detail or the tiniest little plot point that gets spread out. But then you got to look at the overall thing, and sometimes it's better. But issue to issue, I don't know. Superman books right now are wearing super thin on me. Superman especially. This issue, once again, a flashback. Jor-El, Krypton, who's responsible? What's going on? This whole same story has been going on for over a year now, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. I think I am tired of it. Superman number 13, though, is out this week. And it's one of those, like, Year of the Villain, The Offer. I guess they're all going to have Lex Luthor show up at a point to offer the villain a new power set or something. But this one's got an interesting little offer scene in it. Young Justice number 7 is here. This has been a fun issue of Young Justice. Number 7 starts off a new story. They are now flung through the multiverse, so they've saved Jim World, but they're not really grateful for that, so they just kind of fling Young Justice across the multiverse. You find them in a bunch of different alternate Earths, which is really funny. Really cool stuff, some interesting surprise appearances by fan-favorite multiverse-type characters. Really like it. Bendis does get the energy of these characters. Bart, Tim, Cassie, Connor, they all work together. The new characters like Jenny Hex, and if you want to know more about Jenny Hex, by the way, check out the Batman universe. That contains her first appearance. But of course, her first appearance is technically in the Walmart issue. Anyway, I really like the story. Fun. Young Justice bouncing around. Bendis understands these characters. He understands their voices. We get a little bit of fill-in artists on here, but it works because it adapts to the different styles that are needed to go through the different Earths. Young Justice number 7 may be one of my favorite issues of this series so far. Seems like Bendis is kind of ironing that one out just a little bit. Batman number 74 is here. This ends the fall in the Fallen story by Tom King. It's basically Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne, Flashpoint Batman, trekking through the desert, going to a Lazarus pit, trying to resurrect Batman's mother. Wow, that's very intense, isn't it? This was a very excellent issue. Tom King's Batman is a little inconsistent. Sometimes it's a little thin. Sometimes it's a little paper thin. Sometimes it's really meaty and just dense and filled with so much nuanced layers, or at least it appears to be. This is a great issue. I really like the pacing. I like the dialogue. I just love the composition. Mikhail Hanen on the artwork. It's really great stuff. This is one of those issues where it makes the point of why Tom King got nominated for an Eisner. Why this book, right? I'm just saying, I mean, this is a great issue. I don't know. I understand. Some people don't like it. Some people love it. Some people are in the middle, bouncing back and forth like I am at times. But this is one of those issues that I absolutely loved. This is the final part of that story, setting up City of Bane. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the final 10 issues of Tom King's Batman run. Of course, leading into 12 issues of Batman Catwoman. Other Batman books out this week. Detective Comics 1007, the conclusion of that Spectre story with amazing artwork by Kyle Hotz. So good. In that Bernie Wrightson, Kelly Jones type vein, but very distinct in its own style. I've always been a fan of Hotz's work. Really great stuff here. This is better than the first issue. So even though it's a two-parter story, I really thought that the second half was much stronger than the first half. So all in all, it's a pretty fun, decent story. I like the Spectre, so I like to see that character get utilized and get reintroduced to some readers that may have never ever checked it out. If you're unfamiliar with the Spectre and you want to know what the lowdown is, this is a great issue to check out. And that artwork by Kyle Hotz is Hotz. I shouldn't have done that. That was bad. Batman the Outsiders #3 is here. Brian Hill's doing a great job. As a scripter, he's just getting better and better every single issue that I read. He does not waste words. He does not waste time. He does not waste moments. And you got Dexter Soy on the artwork, and it's just splendid. The artwork on this book is beautiful. I absolutely love it. A little thin on some character development. We get a lot of character development on Duke in this issue. But I'm really liking what Hill, Soy, and company are doing on Batman and the Outsiders. It also has another one of those The Offer tie-ins there with Lex Luthor approaching Ra's al Ghul. Anyway, The Flash #74 is here with the 5th part of Flash Year 1. I'm really liking this story. Williamson's been doing a great job on Flash since Rebirth has started. It's had its ups and it's had its downs. Right now it's kind of in and up for sure. Howard Porter doing some really career best level artwork right here. I'm liking it. I'm liking the way they're setting up the ongoing eternal struggle between the Flash and the Turtle. Really like those two opposing forces. I think it actually works a little bit better than Captain Cold, than at being the #1 opposite arch enemy. But anyway, The Flash #74, continuing that Year 1 story, setting up Barry Allen stuff. Williamson and company have done some things in this story that I did not think they were going to do. It's kind of at times all over the place, but it does have a very nice thread of humanity and heart throughout it. Flash #74 out this week. Wonder Twins #6 is here. Would be the final issue, but it got renewed for at least 6 more issues, so more is going to be coming. I've been loving the Wonder Twins. I was not excited for this book at all. I never liked the Wonder Twins. This is a fun, great book that's light, but it also has some serious things to say, but it does so in a not so serious way. It does a great job. Mark Russell is the writer. Stephen Byrne is the artist. The art is clean, cartoony at times, but it's very appropriate for the tone of the story. And like I said, it's a serious book that doesn't take itself too seriously, and I stole that line from Matt Fraction when he was talking about his Jimmy Olsen book, so I'm sorry for that. Anyway, Wonder Twins #6 is great. Kind of wraps up this whole story that they've been building up and sets up something to come. So that's really, really cool. Hawkman #14 is here with another Year of the Villain, The Offer storyline, talking about the advanced version of the Shadow Thief right here, so that's kind of interesting. This has been probably the weakest issue of Hawkman yet. We were wondering if it was going to show a little bit of fatigue after the initial 12-issue story, after the exit of Brian Hitch. What does Vendetti have coming? It's decent, it's all right, but I don't know if this was the story that Vendetti wanted to tell, or if it was kind of had to force it into Year of the Villain, but I don't know. This one just felt a little weak, a little stilted, just a little bit stagnant compared to the issues that came before, but still an enjoyable issue of Hawkman. I do like this direction. I like what Robert Vendetti has been building up to with the mythology of Hawkman. #14 out this week. And if you're a Shadow Thief fan, there you go, right? Shadow Thief's in it. The Invisible Woman #1 arrives from Marvel Comics. That's right, this is the very first solo title for Susan Richards, The Invisible Woman. I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. I was excited to check this out. It's written by Mark Waid. Mark Waid wrote a great run on the Fantastic Four. It's one of my favorite Fantastic Four runs he did with Mike Wieringo, Howard Porter, and a few others. The artwork is done by Mattia Dialuis. I probably butchered that name. It's the artist that was on the Jessica Jones digital first book with Kelly Jones on the writing. Great art. Love the art. It's crisp. It's clean. It's got popping colors. Really beautiful, cool stuff. Great composition. It's a decent little story. It focuses a little bit on the untold part of Susan's life. And you know, she moonlights a little bit as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And that's something that's actually kind of true and kind of neat that they threw it back in, and then when all of a sudden a past mission comes back calling, she has to go back and deal with some things. So it's kind of fun. It was really neat. It's not going to blow you away or change your life or anything, but it's really cool to see Susan get her own solo title. That's super, super awesome. Wolverine vs. Blade is here. It's a one-shot. It's written by Mark, or is it Mike? It's Mark. Mark Guggenheim with art by Dave Wilkins. The art by Dave Wilkins is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's very, very violent. It's very, very violent. There's the first couple pages. It's a very violent book, really kind of excessively so, but it's fun. It's Blade, it's Wolverine. This is obviously a story that was shelved from a few years ago because Guggenheim wrote a Blade series, 12 issues, and he also help write that X-Force book? But during that X-Force run with Archangel and Psylocke and Warpath and Wolverine and X-23, and they were in that silver and black costumes, right? So it's definitely a story that sets back in the day, and it kind of feels out of place, but the art's kind of neat. It looks a little too CG, a little too unreal at times, but it's still actually kind of cool, and like it's super gory and really, really fun. I'm just happy to see Blade finally get some more love at the Marvel Universe again. Wolverine versus Blade, though, it was a nice little appetizer for some more meaty, serious Blade work in the future. I would love to see that. But this was a nice little treat from Marvel. Another nice little treat from Marvel this week was Giant Size Ecstatics #1. For those not familiar, Pete Milligan, Mike Allred took over X-Force back in the early 2000s. It was a really great run that eventually became Ecstatics. They introduced some weird, quirky characters. Pete Milligan, Mike Allred working together. I loved that book. I thought it was so great. Unfortunately, it ended a while ago, and now Marvel has brought it back for this one-shot celebrating 80 years Marvel, so they're bringing back some of their famous and not forgotten creative teams. But the Ecstatics coming back for one issue, that was really cool. But what's really cool about this is actually really awesome because it's a setup for some news stories to come in the future. I really liked it. If you've never, ever read one of those X-Force or Ecstatics books by Allred or Milligan, this book will catch you up. You'll understand exactly how quirky and weird this book is. It's not going to be for everybody, but it's definitely for Robbie, and I loved it. Giant Size Ecstatics out this week. Weapon Plus, that's Wolverine plus Captain America Weapon Plus. This is a one-shot that seems to be the first in a series of one-shots. It's going to tell the story about the Weapon Plus story. So the Weapon Plus, of course, Wolverine was Weapon X. Phantom X is in here. You also got Captain America. He was like one of the first ones. Of course, don't forget about Truth, Red, White, and Black. That story was actually about one of the first experiments in the Weapon Plus story. So the same program that birthed Captain America, birthed Wolverine, birthed into all a bunch of other stuff, right? And that's what this is. It's all right. It's a little thin. It's a little okay. It's all right. I don't know. It's okay. It was neat. It was cool. If you're like just itching for like more information about Weapon Plus, you're not really gonna get it in here. But it's gonna, yeah, I don't know. I like the idea that Weapon X meant Weapon 10. I like that. I don't know if Morrison was the first one to do that or introduce the idea of Weapon Plus, but I just like the idea of the thread from Truth, Captain America, Weapon X, and into what's going on today. But it's just an alright issue. Amazing Spider-Man #25 is here. This is a giant issue by Nick Spencer, Ryan Ottley, Humberto Ramos. They're all back on the artwork with some other surprises. It's big, it's giant, it's $7.99. And the only problem with this book, because it's actually a very well done comic book, I'm loving what Nick Spencer's doing. I'm glad we got past that hunted story. I just felt like that was a little too elongated there, a little just left that going on too long. So I'm happy to see getting back. We got new villains being introduced. What's going on? Big issue #25. I feel like we've been building up to this. It's $8. It's huge. It's okay. It's nothing that like warrants an $8 giant, supremely ultra-sized comic, to be honest. To be honest, it's a nice little story. It's a nice little story about the Lizard and Spider-Man, but it's got a great little side story about Mary Jane, and so that's cool to see her get the spotlight too. And it's got some new interesting bits about the new villain and the new what's coming up in Spider-Man and all that stuff. But this book is huge. It presents itself like it's something big. 60 pages, $7.99, and ultimately why? I don't know. So I like the issue, but I hate the format. Does that make sense? Venom #16 is here, and he's back. That's right, Donny Cates is back with a nice little Calm Before the Storm issue of Venom before Absolute Carnage just burst out onto the scene in August. Very excited for Absolute Carnage. I've been loving what Donny Cates is doing with Venom. This is kind of like a little bit of a weaker story, but just because it is the Calm Before the Storm, dealing still with the fact that Eddie does not have the symbiote anymore. It's post-War of the Realms. It deals a little bit about the ramifications of that and some teasing into what's coming in Absolute Carnage, and I am super stoked. But Donny Cates is back on Venom with issue #16 this week. War of the Realms is over, but the tie-ins still haven't finished. We got some dangling threads we got to tie up, right? So you should read these books in this order. Thor #15. This is a great epilogue to War of the Realms. It is fantastic. It does a great job of dealing with where Thor is now at this point in his journey. Odin, Jane, Loki, everything else. All those things that were left dangling get brought back into the forefront right here and done in a very nice way by Jason Aaron and Mike Del Mundo on the artwork. I love the artwork. I love the story. This was a really solid issue of Thor and a really just great, somber and celebratory epilogue to War of the Realms, for sure. War of the Realms Omega is out, and that's the official epilogue. Read this before this if you're going to read both of them. But this one's all right. This mostly sets up the upcoming stories. Valkyrie, Loki's solo book, and Punisher. You know, the Punisher Kill Crew. Very excited for that one. So this nice little tease into some of that, and it may contain the first appearance of a certain person as a certain character. So be on the lookout for that. War of the Realms Omega. And then we got Avengers number 21. So War of the Realms is over. The Avengers deserve a little bit of a break, right? Jason Aaron throws in some nice humorous content in here. Some real fun stuff. The Avengers just relaxing. Kind of a status quo issue. Now that this craziness of War of the Realms is over, how is everything shaken out? And what's building back up? You also got a Blade appearance in there. Always got to mention when that happens. So it's cool to see Blade get utilized. But lots of information about what's going on with Coulson. What's going on with the new version of the Squadron Supreme, and Black Panther's trying to figure some stuff out. But it's also got some nice humor, it's got some nice mystery, some nice teasing into some things coming up, some really funny moments. And Avengers 21 out this week. Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 8. Saladin Ahmed's best issue of Miles Morales Spider-Man yet. It's a great issue. Basically, Miles has been captured, and this is him in captivity. And it's such a great issue. So well done. The artwork by Javier Garin is amazing. David Curiel on the coloring. The format, the structure, the composition, the layouts, the way this book is told and how it ends, this was very, very effective. Hats off to the team. This was the best issue of Miles Morales Spider-Man yet. This book has kept getting better and better and better. Seriously, seriously. Ironheart, number 8, is out this week with an appearance by Midnight's Fire and an appearance by Night Thrasher in a tiny little flashback panel. However, lots of Midnight's Fire, lots of references to some old school New Warriors, Night Thrasher, Midnight's Fire stories. So my Night Thrasher fans, you'll be excited for that. Riri Williams has been in excellent hands with Eve L. Ewing, Luciano Vecchio. Fantastic artwork, clean, distinct style. Really like it. Very comic book appropriate, action-packed, filled with great characters, great motivations, and just a great arc for these characters. And I'm really super intrigued by the whole Ten Rings thing and how Midnight's Fire plays into that and all that stuff. Just super into Ironheart right now. Black Cat number 2 is here, and this has got one of those absolute carnage teasing little post-credit scenes at the end. I was actually very surprised with the first issue of Black Cat. I thought Jed McKay, Travel Foreman and Company, crafted very, very fun, free, and loose heist book. Issue 2, it was a step back for me. I still thought the artwork by Travel Foreman was some of the best I've ever seen from that cat. But the story just started losing me. I just kind of got not interested, got a little bit just cliche, just a little bit of the norm, right? So I don't know if I'm going to stick around with this one. I was really impressed with issue number 1. Not so impressed with issue number 2. Star Wars continues with the Age of Resistance with the Captain Phasma one-shot by Tom Taylor. I really liked this one. I really liked it. Thin, fun, free, loose, all those things like that, but it's also a really great character study on Phasma, just a tiny little bit. You know, in the last couple Star Wars movies, I was so intrigued by Captain Phasma, and they like Boba Fetted her, where like, you get nothing cool from her in those movies at all, right? And then she's just taken out like that. But there have been some great like comic books and some novels that have really elaborated on that character. Captain Phasma's badass. This book is one of those things to show you why. I just wish they could have showed us why in the movie. Let's jump over to Dark Horse and DC. Black Hammer Justice League is out this week. This was awesome. It's Jeff Lemire writing the Justice League and the Black Hammer in a crossover. I love the setup of the story. I love how it plays out. Really cool stuff. Michael Walsh is the artist. The art is really solid. Fans of Black Hammer, you're going to love it. If you've never read Black Hammer, you're a Justice League fan, so you just want to check it out. It's a decent introduction into Black Hammer, but you're not going to quite hit all those moments that you're going to hit if you're a Black Hammer fan. This is more for the Black Hammer fans, but if you've never checked out Black Hammer, this is an excellent shot to see if you like the tone of the story, because it does still capture that perfect Lemurian tone that only Jeff Lemire can do. He does this thing where it's like this bittersweet, nostalgic something, like symphony of just greatness. I love his work. I love Black Hammer. Black Hammer Justice League was really, really fun. The setup is basically this. The same stranger shows up in both their universes, and then chaos ensues. Really cool stuff that's set in the early times of Black Hammer. Not the early times like back in the 40s or anything like that. Never mind. The book is good. Black Hammer fans, you're going to like it. From Boom Box, we've got Ghosted in LA #1. This is your sleeper hit of the week. This book was awesome. This book was really, really cool. Written by Sina Grace with artwork by Siobhan Keenan. With Sina Grace, Kathy Lee on the coloring, DC Hopkins on the lettering. This was something super, super special. It's about this lady right here. She goes to college in LA, moves away from her hometown, moves to college all the way to LA because that's where her boyfriend's going to go. Well, then she gets ghosted in LA, and then of course the title has this other meaning because then she runs into a whole bunch of ghosts at this house, and it's just really good. Great artwork, really strong, bold line work, beautiful colors, bold coloring too. Really fun stuff. I really liked it. The composition, the flow, the dialogue, everything about this book. The characters felt real. The settings felt real. Even though it's got this these flamboyant colors, it's got this distinctive line work. It really flows. The characters are there. I love the setup of the story. I was instantly charmed by this book, instantly hooked and engaged, and I cannot wait to see where this goes. Fantastic job. Ghosted in LA. That's sleeper hit of the week. At least for me. Also from Boom Studios, Go-Go Power Rangers #21. So now, speaking of Sina Grace joins Ryan Parrott over on Go-Go Power Rangers, and it time jumps ahead to the final days of the Green Rangers. So you get to actually do a little bit more character work with Tommy Oliver. How does it feel to him to lose his powers, to no longer be a Power Ranger? What does that do to him? What does that do to his relationship with Kimberly? How does that affect the other Rangers? I really like both of the books right now, both Power Ranger books. One issue's into the new directions, White Ranger over in Mighty Morphin, the end of the Green Ranger here, so they're actually still kind of close together in their timeline, but this was just excellent stuff. Great understanding of the characters, great dialogue, great flow, great artwork. It's a Power Ranger fan's dream. Good stuff there. From Image Comics, we got a debut, Unearth #1. It's written by Cullen Bunn and Kyle Strom with artwork by Baldemir Rivas, letters by Crank. This book was really, really cool. I love the artwork. It's different. It's unusual. It's got its own distinctive style, and I really like it. It flows very well. The basic idea is that some craziness happens. They go into a cave. I think it's in Mexico, and they find this big, giant monster, and then there's all kinds of weird, blobby people and stuff. It's horror, and it's great. If you're a fan of Cullen Bunn and Kyle Strom's work, you're really going to like this one. Unearth #1. If you want something truly horrifying and out there and weird this week, check out Unearth #1. I really liked it. Reaver #1 is also a new one from Image Comics this week. Written by Justin Jordan with artwork by Rebecca Isaacs and coloring by Alex Guimares. I probably messed up that name. However, Reaver was a pretty decent book. It took a little bit for me to get into it. It was a little slow at first, but basically what this is it's the Dirty Dozen in a fantasy setting. And it actually does that very well. So I really like the artwork. I like the setup of the story. I'm starting to get into the characters. It just took me a while to get into the world. Maybe that's because I'm not the biggest fantasy fan out there. But by the middle of this book, I was totally hooked in, totally engaged, and just launched right into it. Really liked it. Reaver #1 out this week from Image Comics. Criminal #6 is here. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, Jacob Phillips. This book is just a masterpiece, man. Seriously. Criminal #6 was great. If you've never read this book before, and these are my only 6 issues of Criminal I've ever read, I have been instantly engaged. All these different stories, all these different characters. There's a bigger world behind it, and I know that it's revealed in all these other books that have come out over the years, but even if you don't know all that stuff, you can still get right into it. It's like some of the best crime fiction film noir you have ever seen. The dialogue, the writing, it's hard-boiled, but not in an overly cheesy way. It doesn't venture into parody like something like Sin City does at times and stuff like that. But the book stays true, it stays rooted, stays grounded. And this book is amazing. And seriously, Sean Phillips along with Jacob Phillips on the coloring, this book pops. It's fire. It's awesome. If you've never read a single issue of Criminal, you could pick this one up alone and just read it. You don't need to know anything else. It will tell you a good story with great characters, get you hooked in, and get you wanting to come back for more excitement in the world of Criminal. Also from Image, we got Bitterroot returning with a Red Summer special. This actually has a whole bunch of little one-shot stories focusing on individuals, members of the Sangari family that are dealt with in Bitterroot. I love Bitterroot. I love Chuck Brown, David F. Walker, Sanford Green. I think they're doing an excellent job with this book, building up this family, building up this world, this mythology, doing a great job. This issue really helps focus in just a little bit on some characters and also also tease what's to come and build up a little bit more of that world. Bitterroot, some great stuff. If you've never read it, I highly encourage you to pick up the first trade paperback that's out right now. Then jump in and grab this, and the book returns this fall. Very excited for that. Issue 3 of Gagor is here. Ken Garing doing everything himself on this book, and it's awesome. Great world building, great characters, great dynamic artwork. It's a simple, cartoonish type style. You may look at it and be like, oh, that looks a little too elementary for me or whatever. Nah, man, this book is an excellent example of how you tell a story in a comic book, how you show motion, how you show movement, how you do pacing, how you show emotion, how you show characters' feelings, how you show so much, right? The book is awesome. I love this book. It builds up a lot about the world of Gagor right here. It tells you a whole lot of information, and it does so in a very fun, fluid way, very action-packed when it needs to be. Gagor has been awesome. Somebody get this guy on Hulk once Immortal Hulk's over, and let him do a Hulk story of his own set in a multiverse somewhere. That's what I'd love to see. IDW brings us Care Bears, Unlock the Magic, the first issue of a 3-issue miniseries. Matthew Ehrman, Nadia Shamas are the writers on this one. Matthew Ehrman's got an upcoming book over at Vault's Myriad program, so I wanted to check this out. I think my thing is I'm not that familiar with I don't remember the Care Bears as much as I thought I did. You know, I used to love the Care Bears back when I was like a young kid, back in the 80s. And like the toys were cool. I loved their car that looked like a cloud or whatever, and that kind of in here. Is there a new Care Bears cartoon that this is based on? I don't mind the new look or anything like that. I was reading it and I was just like, this book is going over my head. I know nothing about this. I don't know. Maybe I don't remember the Care Bears as much as I used to. Is there a new series? There might be a new series. I like the art style, and it works. It's the Care Bears. So give it to your kid. Your kid likes Care Bears, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't. Maybe I'm not as big of a Care Bears fan as I pretend to be, I guess. Humanoids brings us Strangelands #1. It's a new one. It's written by Mags Visaggio and Darcy Little Badger. This one is about two people that have similar powers, and if they get too far away or too close to each other, bad things happen. It gets explosive, right? So we've seen stories like that. Quantum and Woody just a little bit, for instance. This one just didn't really do much for me, though. I mean, I know that this whole world was introduced in the Free Comic Book Day special, but it feels like we're just kind of thrown in the middle of a story that's been going on way longer than just a little introduction into a one-shot or something. I just felt lost. I felt confused. It just didn't really hook me. And I was really disappointed because I was really looking forward to this one. I really, really was. But it just didn't really move me that much. Morning in America #5, though, which is the final issue, did move me. I love this one. This is written by Max Visaggio with artwork by Claudia Aguirre, Zach Sam on the lettering. The artwork is awesome. It's kind of like a version of Stranger Things in a way, but it is in no way whatsoever a rip-off of Stranger Things, or is it not? It's definitely its own thing. It just happens to deal with, you know, kids fighting monsters in 1983. But it's really fun stuff. I love the ending. The ending is a bit abrupt, but it's big, and it's kind of darker than I thought it would be. I thought this book starts off as a big fun romp, and it kind of gets really serious towards the end, but I really like that. So hats off to the creative team. Morning in America was one of the best books I've read this year. Absolutely. Orphan Age #4 is here from Ted Anderson, Nuno Plati, and Aftershock Comics. Orphan Age has been great. Walking Dead just wrapped up last week. If you are just fiending for some kind of new post-apocalyptic comic book experience, check out Orphan Age. So what happened like 20 years ago or something? All the adults died. Every single adult died. So now you got nothing left but children, teenagers and children, right? So now they have to rebuild the world. What does that world look like? How does it evolve? What happens, right? I mean, think about that. That's some crazy stuff. That's what gets explored in Orphan Age #4. Was a great issue. It really explained a lot of how the world did evolve, how some more of society got built, how some society didn't quite catch up, right? I love it. The artwork is very simple, but do not be misled by the simplicity of the artwork. It's a very hard-hitting story filled with drama, and I'm just loving this. Orphan Age, 4 issues in. It's one of my favorite post-apocalyptic comic books that I've read this week. Probably one of the only ones. But anyway, Orphan Age is a great book. So that's what I read this week. That's what I thought about it. What are you reading? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe for more content. And join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.